Welcome to another episode of the Camper Report. Uh, Obviously, you guys still see that deadbeat intro. It's basically like the StreamYard countdown intro that StreamYard gives you as kind of like I guess, a perk of using StreamYard. But I'm gonna be making here. Hold on, let me move my thing a little bit that way. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure why. I think it's more. Yeah, it's supposed to be more. Okay. There we go. There we go. I got it. Anyways, StreamYard. My camera was a little messed up. But anyways, so that deadbeat countdown, I'm gonna be getting rid of that soon. I actually have new intro that I'm about to finish. I'll probably finish it tonight. The next live show you see me, it'll be a new intro. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be cool. Before we start that, guys, I do want to quickly remind you guys that August 26th, Saturday, August 26th, I'll be trying to get a 6 to 8 hour stream. There'll be a few guests on, hopefully Grant Cohn. And then I also have a few around the league guests. Like I'm planning to bring on a Giants guest. I'm planning to bring on a Chargers guest. So there will be a lot of guests to joining me for that 8-hour stream. It's going to be going from 11 a.m. Eastern time to 7 p.m. Eastern time. Saturday, August 26th. Don't miss it. When I do end up making the stream, I want you guys to retweet it as much as possible, because at 2 p.m. at 2 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Mountain time, we will be having, hold on, let me get it. We'll be having basically a auction. This is a copy from the 1982 Super Bowl. This is the full newspaper copy from the 1982 Super Bowl when the 49ers won their first Super Bowl against the Bengals. And we'll be auctioning that off. So you guys can come in the stream, compete for who wins it. And a lot of that money will be going to a charity. I haven't picked it yet. So August 26th, that's on a Saturday. Write it down on your calendars. It's going to be an 8-hour stream. And then obviously halfway through that stream, I'll have that auction. But we'll be having quite a few guests. It's going to be a lot of fun. So more details will follow. I'll obviously preview the guests maybe the week before. I haven't gotten everything set in stone yet. So let's get to the real stream, though, because I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Obviously, if you guys want to call in, I believe the link is in the description here. Let me quickly see. Yes. So if you guys want to call in, we'll talk Niners. I'll be here for the next 40 minutes. But while I'm waiting for people to call in, we can talk Niners. We can talk anything. While I'm waiting for people to call in, underrated contenders that nobody is talking about. And, you know, when we look at teams in the NFL that are going to compete for a Super Bowl, we think of Chiefs, we think of Bills, we think of Bengals, we think of Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys. But there's a few teams where, especially in the AFC, could overpass those teams this year. And the first team I really want to touch on is the Browns. The Browns, I know that nobody really likes Deshaun Watson. Trust me, I don't like him either. But that team is stacked with weapons, and the only reason why I think Deshaun Watson struggled last year was because he came so late in the year. We're forgetting that Deshaun Watson, before he met all those before he had all those lawsuits, he was a top 5 quarterback. I mean, the year before he had all those lawsuits, he was on the Browns, right? And it was right before the end. But Deshaun Watson was just carrying that team. They didn't have a ton of weapons. I believe that year they went like 5-11, but this guy was scrambling around, throwing dimes. I remember watching one overtime game. I think this was I believe it was in 2021. I think it was, anyways, it was the year before he got suspended. But I remember it was an overtime game against the Titans. They ended up winning that game. The Titans were really good that year, as the year that the Titans made the NFC Championship game. But and they were riding on the shoulders of Derrick Henry. But that year, he was incredible. Deshaun Watson was incredible. That Texans team was not very good. They went 5-11. I believe it was in 2020, or maybe it was 2019. I don't know. But the point of everything is, if he can get back to that level, he's a top 5 quarterback. And I believe he will, because it's not like he had a major injury. It's the same thing with Calvin Ridley on the Jaguars. You know, they just got suspended. They were still training just outside of the team facility. So I think he had a good part of last year to kind of get his feet under him. He had a full offseason this year. Full offseason this year. And not only that, the Browns made a lot of additions that were encouraging. They got Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, which already adds to their stacked wide receiver room, which includes Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, who they traded for from the Jets, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, you got Amari Cooper. That's a number 1 receiver. Donovan Peoples-Jones, solid number 2, was very good last year. I don't have his exact numbers. And then Elijah Moore was a great, slot receiver for the Jets. Cedric Tillman, obviously, they got him in the, I believe, third round. But so they have a good wide receiver core. You add on top of that, you still have Nick Chubb, one of the best running backs in the league. And then the offensive line. Let's talk about the offensive line for a second. Hold on. I'm trying to get my notes up here. Let's talk about the offensive line. Jedrick Wills, Jack Conklin, who is really good, Joel Bentonio, and Wyatt Teller. Those 4 guys have played together since 2020. That's their offensive line. Again, I'll repeat. Jedrick Wills Jr., Jack Conklin, Joel Bentonio, and Wyatt Teller. Those 4 guys have played together since 2020. Great chemistry. And the biggest thing about an offensive line is you need chemistry with the quarterback. And so all 4 of those guys, the only one that I think the only change that the Browns had along that offensive line was at center. But all 4 of those guys know the system. They've been in it. And last year they had a lot of injuries. They did. The Browns had a lot of injuries along the offensive line. If they can stay healthy, the Browns are a top 5 offensive line in the league. So you have a top 3 wide receiver. You have, at his best, a top 10 wide receiver, Amari Cooper, and you pair that with Cedric Tillman, a speedster from Tennessee, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's a stacked offense. Really, really stacked offense. So if everything goes well, this Browns offense should be a top 5 offense, close to top 5, between the 5 and 10 range. So that's a team where if they get in the playoffs, they could do some damage. They could definitely make a run for their division. Once they get in the playoffs, they could do some damage. And that's if they get in the playoffs, because the AFC is very stacked. But that should be a team that we should look out for, because Deshaun Watson is up there with the best of the quarterbacks. He really is. I'd say if he returns to full Deshaun Watson mode, he's like, obviously Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, I would say, is better than Deshaun, but I'd say Joe Burrow's better. I would say there's like maybe 4 guys better than Deshaun Watson when he is at his best. And that's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, possibly Aaron Rodgers, maybe Justin Herbert, but like he's top 5, top 6. So stacked offense, because they've got a great quarterback, 4 really good receivers, a top 5 offensive line, and a top 3 running back. That's a great core right there. So that's one of them. The next team that I kind of want to touch on is the Seahawks. I've covered them a ton. I'm not going to spend much time on them because the next team is really the team I want to talk about. But the Seahawks, they had an amazing draft. They drafted, they have a dual threat running back in what's his face? Oh my gosh. They have a dual threat running. Well, they obviously drafted the running back from UCLA in the fourth round, and then they have a dual threat running back in, my gosh, I'm going to have to look. I don't know why I'm not remembering this. Running backs here. Hold on. Kenneth Walker. Why didn't I remember that? So dual threat running back, Kenneth Walker. They have Zach Charbonnet, who they drafted in the fourth round. They have JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigga, who they got a steal in I think it was the 18th pick. They obviously have the best corner by far, I think, in my opinion. That was obviously, my Lord. I don't know why I am blinking today. Let's see. They had. Hold on. I'm trying to think, everyone, because cornerbacks. Why? Okay, well, they obviously have Tariq Woolen, but the guy that they drafted, and I used to know his name off the top of my head, but they drafted a guy with the. If any of the chat, hold on, let me know. Tariq Woolen, yes, but they have the other guy that they drafted with. By the way, silly fun guy, thanks for coming in. They had the other guy. They obviously have. They have Jamal Adams, but I was talking. They really. My gosh. Team roster. Witherspoon. Devon Witherspoon. Yeah. Why did I not remember that? That was a guy that I believe if you go back at his PFF stats from 2022 from Illinois, cornerback out of Illinois, he allowed it was something crazy. It was like a 30 quarterback rating or 40 quarterback rating, and then he allowed a completion percentage of 20% when targeted. So he's a monster, Devon Witherspoon. And then you pair him obviously with Tariq Woolen, who I think had 5 picks last year. That's one of the best cornerback tandems. Obviously, we have Jamal Adams if he can stay healthy. So great secondary. And then the D line, yeah, that's still, according to a lot of people, needs a lot of work. But the offense is going to be scary with Lockett, DK Metcalf, JSN, Charbonnet, and Kenneth Walker will be holding down the offensive load. And Kenneth Walker's a great dual threat guy. You have 2 promising tackles in Charles Cross and the other guy. It's slipping me, but offensive line is pretty good. So my point is, that's another team. The Seattle Seahawks, they were close with the 49ers last year in the first half, and then the 49ers kind of pulled away. But you're taking into consideration that now, as it stands, the Seahawks have a slightly easier schedule. Now, that could change, but the Seahawks have slightly easier schedule, and they got, I would say, a lot more talent than the Niners. And so everyone's talking about, the Cowboys. But truthfully, who did the Cowboys draft in the first round? They drafted a nose tackle, Mozzie Smith, which I like, but I feel like the Seahawks they have been building this team for now 2 years that is now starting to become young, because the Seahawks with them it's like their team is pretty young, and with youth comes less injuries. Like when you get older in the NFL, you start to have more injuries. The Seahawks shouldn't be having that because both DK Metcalf and JSN are pretty young. You have Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, both really young. And so they shouldn't have a lot of injuries on the offense. And they also, at now as it stands, has an easier schedule than the Niners. I could see them beating the Niners for the NFC West and getting a 2 or 3 seed and doing really well. Getting a first home game, they could really upset a lot of people, because I think right now as it stands, how much better is Dak Prescott than Geno Smith? Really? I don't know. Dak Prescott's definitely fallen off a little bit. And so as it stands, I think you could definitely make the argument that receiving wise, they're better than the Cowboys. They have more depth than the Cowboys. Running back wise, I mean, the Cowboys have the guy that the 49ers injured last year. Again, a ton of names are blanking right now, but yeah, I mean, they have two great running backs, the Seahawks. So I don't know. I believe that you could make the argument that the Seahawks are better than the Cowboys. The Eagles are the only one where I'm like, the Eagles, I think, have them beat, but like, so Seahawks, if everything falls right, let's say the Eagles lose in the second round, they get upset, and the Seahawks are still chugging along. And I mean, if everything falls right, yeah, the Seahawks could make the Super Bowl. But that's enough of my rant. If anyone wants to call in, feel free, link in the description. But Jaguars are kind of my last team. Then I'll kind of give an honorable mention. The Jaguars are kind of a team that are kind of starting to pick up steam, but because the AFC is so stacked, they're not going to get a lot of recognition, but they're definitely going to win their division. I mean, that's Colts, Texans, and Titans. I think the Titans might be the only competition, but I don't know about that one. So Jaguars are going to win their division. I don't know what seed they're going to be, but let's assume they're the third or fourth seed, right? I mean, let's look at kind of their pickups for this last year. So their big concern was run defense. They weren't very good at the run defense. They pick up Michael Dogbe, who doesn't have a lot of stats. Michael Dogbe, he used to play for the Cardinals, but he's a kind of lengthy, bigger body in the middle. So that's depth. I mean, he's not great, but that's depth. Michael Dogbe. Henry Mondio, who played for the Giants last year. He's bounced around the league, but he actually had a little bit of a role. He's a good interior pass rusher, played for the Giants. Henry Mondo, whatever. So they got some depth there to shore up that defensive line. And then they lost Jawan Taylor at the left tackle position, but they replaced him with Anton Harrison, who started a lot of games, has a lot of experience. Left tackle from Oklahoma, Anton Harrison. They have Uchenna Nwosu, who they extended, and then Darrell Taylor, edge. I'm pretty sure they drafted a guy as well. It is either Cameron or Byron Young. Well, they drafted Ventrell Miller from Florida, who got suspended in 2021. In the fourth round, they drafted Ventrell Miller from Florida, who got suspended in 2021. But the thing with Ventrell Miller, he's a linebacker from Florida. But the thing with him is, if you look at his stats, like this guy had 74 tackles in 2021 through 11 games and 64 in 2022 through, he had 74 in 2020 as a freshman and tackles, and then he had 64 in 2022 as a senior or as a junior. But you might say, oh, okay, he's a linebacker. He's not going to, contribute much to the run game or the run defense. But no, that was one of his specialities. Is he's very violent coming downhill, and he was one of the best run stopping linebackers coming out of this draft. PFF gave him a 74 grade, obviously out of 100. PFF isn't the gospel. Well, a 74 running grade. So against the run defense, a run defense grade of 74, PFF grade gave him, which was one of the highest in last year's draft class. So this team to me is really, they have a lot of young, unproven pieces, but like Carcass says, Uchenna Nwosu, and then on the other side, they got some depth. Obviously, we're talking about Ventrell Miller from Florida, Michael Dogbe. So, and then you also add in the fact that they got like he said, Calvin Ridley, comeback season. You know, it might take him a little while to get back into football shape, like game shape, but he's been training, obviously. And it's not like he was hit with a serious injury. He was suspended for a stupid rule. But Calvin Ridley should be an important piece as well. They just extended Evan Ingram. They got, in the second round, Brenton Strange, tight end from Penn State, who is a great tight end there. He had 32 catches for over 300 yards in 2022, which doesn't seem like a lot. I think it was like 332 yards. But in college, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit, especially for a tight end. And he's kind of a dual threat tight end. You look him up, and from what I saw on film from him, it's like he can play both, but he can block really well in the run game, and he can also catch the ball. So 32 catches is pretty good through 12 games. But they also, if you're not counting a third year of Trevor Lawrence, who last year showed flashes. And by the way, _187_, welcome to the channel. I don't think I've seen you in here. He says, I believe this stands for Bang Bang Niner Gang. Let's go Niners. Hey guys, quick reminder, if you guys want to call in, link in the description. So actually, I should have put a banner up there. Call in. I should have put a banner up. I don't know why I didn't. Link in the description. But anyways, to get back on my train of thought, you have another year of Trevor Lawrence. You have Travis Etienne. And then they also got, let's see here. They got, I think I have it written down. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Next page. Sorry, guys. This is kind of unprofessional checking my notes. I need to get like one of those things that hangs in front of the screen where I have my notes. But they got Dearness Johnson, who used to be the Browns running back, who kind of had a few good games with them, was Nick Chubb's backup. So you have Travis Etienne. You obviously have JaMycal Hasty, ex-49ers running back. You have Dearness Johnson. So they've kind of made it a deal. If Travis Etienne goes down with an injury like he did last year, they've kind of made it to where they can lean on other running backs. So they have depth at the running back position with obviously Travis Etienne, Dearness Johnson, JaMycal Hasty. They have Evan Ingram, the tight end that they just extended. Then they have the Penn State tight end that they drafted in the second round. So Jaguars are going to be a great team. And they're going to have a lot of weapons. You're not counting the receiver core. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, who are two top 30 receivers in this league. And then you obviously have, do I have any other? Yeah. Okay. I don't really have any other receivers that I can mention here, but those are two really good receivers. So they have weapons on the offense, and they shored up the defensive line with the depth pieces that I just mentioned. So they should be a good team. What's up? Hit the like button, everyone. Yeah. Thank you. Bryant Culp, if you want to call in, we can talk Niners. But let's get to a little bit of the Niners talk. Why the Niners won't make any trades mid-season. This is kind of an interesting topic to me because I think quite a few people are like, well, if the right tackle position doesn't work out, then we can just make a trade or pick up somebody mid-season. That's not how it works. I don't think people realize how hard it is to get a starting right tackle mid-season to trade for one. And we obviously know in Kyle Shanahan's system, you have to be super smart as a tackle, because when Kyle Shanahan runs the outside zone, the tackle is leading the charge. So the tackle has to know a good amount of the playbook, because Kyle Shanahan's playbook is mainly running the ball, and it's also a lot of outside zone, which means the tackle is the lead blocker. And so not only if a new right tackle comes in to start midseason, not only does he have to know the system really well, he also has to be a better than Colton McKivitz, which I think we haven't seen a ton of Colton McKivitz, and he's still 25, 26 years old, so he could develop. I think he's going to struggle early, but there is still room for development in Colton McKivitz's game, right? He hasn't started a ton of games. He can still, he can still develop. And I said this my last show with what's his name? Niner Gang, Niner Faithful, whatever it is. Dion, well, his name is Dion, but I said this last show that I did. I said, Colton McKivitz, if he's a good pass blocker but not as good of a run blocker, and he struggles this year with run blocking, he can go into next offseason and say, okay, this is what I need to work on. I'm going to put on weight, and I'm going to try to get better at my run blocking. So Colton McKivitz, I think, has room for improvement because he is younger, and he hasn't started a ton of games. I think, he's not the greatest, but if he's average, then we could be definitely better at that position. And I think even if he's average, he will be better than any tackle that we could try to bring in midseason. So, and I don't think nobody's going to give up a star right tackle midseason. So if the 49ers are looking for a right tackle midseason, it's going to be, mid-tier right tackles that aren't superstars. And Colton McKivitz, I think, could be a mid-tier right tackle. So I don't think we're making a trade for any right tackle. We're picking up any right tackles mid-season unless there's injuries. And obviously the Niners have a heavy tight end blocking game. Cam Latu should be their blocking tight end, designated blocking tight end. And apparently, from what I've heard in training camp, he's a great run blocking tight end. Not as great of a pass catcher, but good run blocker. Another kind of, position that the Niners will, I think a lot of people think, if Drake Jackson doesn't work out, maybe we could go out mid-season and maybe get another edge rusher, or the edge rusher position is less of a, how do you put this? Less of a depth, except from Nick Bosa, we don't have as much depth on that position, defensive end. But here's the thing. And I know I've heard that a lot of defensive linemen or defensive ends have struggled in this year's training camp, right? But we're forgetting that the Niners don't right now in training camp have Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa takes up double teams every single play. And so on most occasions, the Niners, since they don't have Nick Bosa in training camp right now, nobody has to, they don't have to pay as much attention to the right side, which Nick Bosa is on. So they can double team, they can single team everyone, or they can double team one not as good defensive lineman, if you know what I mean. So they don't have to focus, they don't have to constantly worry about where is Nick Bosa on the defensive line in training camp. So I think that's why a lot of the other defensive ends are not doing as good, because they're shown more attention, right? During a regular season game, assuming that Nick Bosa comes back this year, during a regular season game, we're going to see attention being brought off of guys like Drake Jackson or Bryant, what's his name? Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant. We're going to see during games, assuming that Nick Bosa comes back, we're going to see the attention go to Nick Bosa, and Austin Bryant, Cleveland Farrell, Drake Jackson will roam free along the left or right side of the defensive line. So I'm not too worried. I know that it's a weaker position, but I don't think we make another move for a defensive end midseason, because the 49ers do what they do every year. They have 3 great defensive linemen, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa, and then they just throw mud at a wall and they say, we're going to pick up as many developmental projects as we can that have talent, that had talent coming out of the draft. That's Austin Bryant, who was a former first-round pick. No, he was a 4th-round pick, sorry. we're going to sorry, Cleveland Farrell was the 4th overall pick. So we're going to get guys who maybe aren't as maybe were our projects that we could develop, and we're going to throw as many guys out there and see which one sticks and see which one performs. Last year that was Charles Omenihu. So that's kind of their approach. And I've always wondered, like, you guys obviously can chime in the comments. When obviously we've said that Javon Hargrave isn't a great defensive, like not a great run stopper. So if he's not a great run stopper, who starts on first or second down or third and short? Who starts opposite Eric Armstead in the middle? To me, I think they're going to rotate. I think it's going to be Kevin Givens, Kalia Davis. Again, they're doing what I just said with the defensive end position. They're going to have a rotation of guys, not necessarily one dude. So you're talking about Javon Kinlaw, if he can stay healthy. Kerry Hyder could potentially move there. He's a little bit bulkier of a guy. Kevin Givens, Kalia Davis, even Cleveland Farrell. Like, he's a lengthy dude, 265, 6'4". Who else? Yeah, that T.Y. McGill, shorter guy, 295 though, more of a bigger, like more of a bowling ball type player. So, because I've always, like, Javon Hargrave isn't going to be a 4-down player or 3-down player. Well, not sometimes he will, but one of his weaknesses is run game because he is a smaller dude. And so I think that's an intriguing, who's going to like start in place if he doesn't go in. That's most likely going to be Javon Kinlaw, but if he gets injured, who else is it? I think Kalia Davis is probably, and Kevin Givens are probably going to be the two guys, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's kind of I'm seeing patterns with the Niners every year. They have a few really good defensive linemen that are playing most of the game, and then they basically have at the rest of the positions on the defensive line, they have a rotation of guys. And a lot of times you'll see those guys as draft busts or developmental projects who have the physical traits to be good, but they just haven't harnessed that yet. So, and I'm looking at guys like Cleveland Farrell, or, the 49ers did a lot with Kerry Hyder in previous years. And then we obviously have Austin Bryant as well, more of a, let's see what Austin Bryant's measurables are. 6'5", 250. Yeah, so more of a lengthy dude. But yeah, that's kind of what was on my mind today. I have time for maybe one or two callers. I have to get off of here and probably do, obviously, link in the description. I need to get off and go to cross-country practice, but it's been great, guys. Hopefully you guys understood all of this. I kind of am just giving you my raw notes, but this has been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys, doing this live. And thank you to the new guy in the chat here, _187_. Thanks for coming in. And then obviously earlier we had Silly Fun Guy. That's a guy that I haven't seen in a while. And then obviously to the to the regulars like Carcast, Bryant Culp. Thanks for coming in. So guys, we'll see you again later. This has been a great live show. Again, since we still have some people watching this, I do want to say August 26th, which is a Saturday, I am doing an 6 to 8 hour stream. It's going to be a mega stream. We'll be having guests. DM me on Twitter, Camper One Report. I believe it's in the description. Let me check here. Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. DM me on Twitter if you guys want to be a guest on the show for that show. I haven't gotten all of the guests in. I haven't got any of them really set in stone yet. Some of the main headliners will be like Celts Chronicles, hopefully Grant Cohn, a Giants content creator. I can't remember the name of him right now, but there will be Niners content creators and also around the league, different content creators like Giants content creators, Lions content creators, just a bunch of content creators coming together. And then before I get out of here, midway through the stream, there will be a auction. This is a huge newspaper. But this is a newspaper. I mean, this is a thick thing. This is a newspaper. It was a copy bought by my dad's friend that was given to me. It's a 1982 copy of a newspaper when the 49ers first won the Super Bowl against the Bengals in 1982. It came out the next day, and it's a piece of history. So that's going to be an auction. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Basically, this stream will be running from 11 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Pacific. Halfway through at 2 p.m. Eastern. Sorry. 7. So it'll be 11 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern. 8 p.m. Pacific to 4 p.m. Pacific. This stream will be running from, hopefully. And halfway through at 11 p.m. Pacific, we will be having an auction for this. So retweet this. I'll obviously be tweeting it within the next few days. And basically what will happen is I'll have the link in the description. You guys will come into the stream and you'll bid for it. And most of those earnings that I make from selling this will go to a charity. I haven't picked it yet. So go check that out. Check out my Twitter because there will be tweets in the future updating you guys as we go along, because it is still quite a ways away. It's still almost 3 weeks away. So yeah, guys, go have a fun rest of your night. Thanks to everyone for watching. It's been real, everyone. Go Niners.